Welcome. Episode 31 of the Stories of Gumption podcast. Conversations with entrepreneurs, creative thinkers, and just really, really impressive people. This episode is brought to you by Spar-Kil-Kleen. They provide professional and economic cleaning solutions to both residential and commercial structures. They specialize in window cleaning, floor care, carpet extraction, as well as auto and boat detailing. As we continue to face this coronavirus, it's time to consider a cleaning team that is certified. Yes, certified. That's the word I used. To guarantee that 99.99999% of contagions have been removed from the surface. They know how to do it. They've been certified. They went to special training just to make sure that they were doing this the right way. They had the best equipment, the best supplies. And I don't know anything about this, but they do, and they're certified. So give them a call. It's Spar-Kil-Kleen. Give them a call at 518-578-2931. That's 518-578-2931. You can also check them out. They're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Spar-Kil-Kleen. SPAR-KIL-KLEEN. Zach and Kate Hoyt. Everybody, great people. Love them. Podcast is also brought to you by Hevans Designs. Hevans Designs seeks to help take the stress out of selling, renting, organizing, and designing your home. They can give you tips that'll help you stage, organize, sell, or rent your home quickly. They'll even help you write an online advertisement on sites like Zillow, Airbnb, and more. Take the stress out of the process of organizing and preparing your home for whatever you have in store. Not selling or renting your home? That's okay. Hevans Designs is still here to help you organize, design, and create a beautiful home that is a reflection of you. They can still provide you with great tips and tricks that will help you increase the value of your home by making tiny changes that cost very little. Check them out primarily on Instagram at Hevans Designs, HOMEHEVANS Designs. All one word, Hevans Designs on Instagram. You can also give them a call at 518-593-5416. That's 518-593-5416. Podcast is also brought to you by Alexander Edwards & Company, CPAs PC. Tax season has been extended, everyone. It's after the normal deadline for tax day, but if you're a little behind the power curve and you need an expert, Alexander Edwards & Company, CPAs PC, they're located at 47 Dock Street in Plattsburgh. They've been providing common sense solutions to many North Country businesses and personal customers for many, many years. They've been doing this since 1920. That's right, 1920. They know what they're doing. It's not their first rodeo. Bring them your problems, they will provide solutions. Alexander Edwards & Company is a full-service public accounting firm engaged in tax preparation, bookkeeping, audits, estate planning, financial planning, and management consultation. You can give them a call at 518-563-1600, or you can find them on the web. Again, that's 518-563-1600. Whew, episode 31. What a crazy time this episode is coming out. As I'm recording this, it's the very middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm sure many of you who are listening out there are reflecting on this thing, and we're still in the middle of it. It's a crazy time. I hope everybody's being safe, doing what they can to prevent the spread of this virus, and hopefully we'll all come out of this much stronger together, regardless of our circumstances and how it may have affected us individually. We're all struggling in our own way, but let's stick to it, and let's come out of this stronger than we've ever been. Today's episode is with a really good friend of mine. Actually, it was a real treat to be able to reconnect with him and have a nice conversation about everything he's done and accomplished and continues to accomplish as a leader in the Rutland, Vermont Police Department. And he and I were great friends in high school, really close. And, as life kind of takes you different directions, I'd still say we're close friends, but just don't get the opportunity to connect very much anymore. And so this was great. And he shares a couple stories from his time as a leader in the Rutland Police Department, which is a really different flavor from some of the other guests I've had on the podcast. And I think it's a really cool episode. Actually, full disclosure, as we were doing this, he was sort of still wrapping up his shift, and he did have permission to record this with me while he was on his shift. But there's a couple edits in here that you'll notice. I had to take out some confidential information because he was actually getting some calls. So without further ado, this is another great episode of the Stories of Gumption. Enjoy. Gumption, defined as initiative, aggressiveness, resourcefulness, courage, spunk, guts, common sense, and shrewdness. Welcome to the podcast. This is Stories of Gumption with your host, Ryan Lee. All right, my guest is the Sergeant of the Street Crimes Unit at the Rutland P.D. He's a veteran of the Air National Guard, and he's a very good friend of mine from back in the day. Really glad to reconnect with him. Welcome to the podcast, Adam Lucia.
Hey, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's great to reconnect with you. It's been a long time, huh? It's been a real long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I'm super stoked. It was funny. I was pretty excited to see that you had this going, and then was like beyond stoked to when you asked me if I wanted to be on it. I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, like, we got some great stories from back in the day, that's for sure. I don't know how gumptious they are, but certainly when I think of what you do now, like, there's gumption in the Sergeant of the Street Crimes Unit in the Rutland Police Department. You must see some stuff.
Yeah. I've seen my fair share, I guess. And
of course, not to downplay, being in the Air National Guard either.
Yeah, I mean that was good.
Too.
Yeah, it was. I got some good experience through that, but yeah, mainly a lot of the gumption comes from the job I'm currently doing and have had the last 8 years. So
certainly. Well, before we get into that, I got to reminisce a little bit. The listeners probably have no idea what I'm about to talk about, but you are one of the founding members of the Red Man Group. Not to be confused with the Blue Man Group that everybody knows about, but you're a founding member of the Red Man Group.
That is, that's correct.
I just love bringing that up because anytime I tell somebody that, they're like, "What the heck are you talking about?" And if you people out there listening are like, "Red Man Group sounds like Blue Man Group," well, it kind of was. It was totally a knockoff. We stole all their ideas, and instead of being blue, we were completely red. I remember putting on like the swim caps to make ourselves look bald, and then we put on all that latex paint.
Yeah, that stuff was brutal, and I'm sure my wife is literally going to listen to this probably someday and be like, really? Like, really? I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty serious though. We brought in like a bunch of money for our high school, and we did like the talent show and all that, and it was pretty legit. We had we had drums. We cut up the PVC pipes, and we made an instrument, the sliding instrument that they use there. And
we made some weird sounds when you hit it and moved it. Yeah.
We did some skits, and I remember we had some of our friends play in a band, so we had like the rock guitar and everything to go along with it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I mean we practiced too. I want people to realize that, like, we took it as serious as we could, and there were some practices on a Saturday or whatnot. I mean, It wasn't like we
It's
just
true.
went and did it.
It's
Yeah.
true.
So
And at the time, I think you were the only like actual drummer of the three of us. Like you actually were a drummer, and we were just aspiring drummers, like trying to kind of learn our the ropes.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I was great. I mean, I was in band for drums, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that's because that was like the only thing I was capable of doing at that point in my musical career, my short-lived career in music.
Yes. Yes. Well, I don't think any evidence exists on YouTube. I could be wrong. I don't know. People could probably there's probably a ton of knockoffs of the Blue Man Group, but I thought ours was pretty good. And if evidence exists, somebody listening, maybe if you find it, send me a note and tell me where it is because I'd be curious.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
don't like share it at first. Let him know
Yeah.
there's something on it.
Yeah, like full transparency here. We're not
Yeah,
asking you to share it or spread it. We're just
that's
asking
right.
you to tell us that it exists so we can confirm it, lock it down, maybe find a way to make it disappear. But anyway, it is a good time. Good time. The other thing that I always reminisce on, man, I know it goes way back. This is still going back to middle school, high school, but you and I played football together. A good old game of football. I know that you were really you went into wrestling for that was like your main thing that you were really crushing. I remember, but football back in
Yeah,
the day, man.
yeah, that was good. I mean, if I saw Coach Lozier now, I mean, I know I'm taller than him, maybe bigger. I don't know,
You're
but
probably taller back then too.
yeah, but I would definitely, we would definitely have a conversation about those gassers he made me run all up and down the
Yeah,
field.
yeah, yeah. Actually, oh my God, this just I completely forgot about this. But so one of the things I was going to ask you about, because I know you and I talked a little bit before the podcast on and off about this, is you're running. You like to run Spartan races and stuff now.
Yeah, yeah, somehow, yeah, I got into that, and yeah,
Well, I was just like running through my or not my Rolodex, but my memory of like everything that's going on or that happened back in the day to reminisce, and I forgot, man, you dislocated your knee.
I did, yeah, really bad actually in a wrestling match. Yeah, yeah, it was terrible. Probably, yeah, probably the
Wow.
worst injury I've knock on wood, I've acquired.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was not a good time when that happened.
Does does that come back to bug you still from
So
time to time?
so I feel like if I'm like I feel like it does a little bit. Like there's been a few times like where I've definitely like tweaked it, I guess you would say, like
Yeah.
over the years. But I think like I think the only time is if I'm doing like a lift, or if I'm going on like a pretty good trail run or something like that, like, or doing like a Spartan. If my mind starts like trying to psych myself out, like I'll get like ghost pains from it.
Oh my God.
So I think that's more or less what it is. But then I'm like, well, I'm you know halfway through this race. I can't really, I'm not gonna quit now. So just kind of just push through it.
What's your favorite race you've done?
So far probably the Spartan Beast on Killington.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, so um, just because like, so Spartan, the founder, Joe DeSena, he owns property in Pittsfield, Vermont, which is really like, I don't know, 20 minutes from my doorstep. So
Oh, no kidding.
and he's got like this whole plot of land open to the public where you can climb these hills, and he's got obstacles littered through the woods and on these trails. So I mean, it's perfect for training. But he purposely makes the Spartan race at Killington like one of the hardest races, because that's where it's born. So he's kind of sadistic when it comes to the Killington races. Like, I remember, not to get off topic, but I remember I was doing it this year. We had a whole group of us were doing it, and my brother came up from Maine to watch me. My mom came. You know, it was kind of like a big to do. So going through this race, and I get to this one point where we were going through all these switchbacks in the woods and everything like that, and I remember coming out of a clearing, and I'm coming down the hill, and I see my brother. He's like cheering me on and everything like that. And I'm like, oh man, I must be done. You know, I must be coming close to the finish because I hear people cheering. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I round this corner, and we are literally going up this like pretty much the side of a mountain, and it's like,
Oh my God.
and as we're as you're marching up it, it's like, oh, by the way, you're on mile 17 or 16 or something like that, and it was only supposed to be like a I think it was only supposed to be like a 13-mile race. So like,
Holy shit, man.
yeah.
Wait
So
a minute. Wow, you caught me being ignorant to this then. I've never done a Spartan race, but I always assumed because of like the obstacles and all the extra crap you have to deal with on the race course that like it's a little short. It's shorter for that reason, but these are like half marathons.
yeah. So like, there's different tiers that you can do. So
Oh my God.
they have a stadium race that I did in Boston at Fenway, which was it was a little chipper, man. You know, that was easy. You know, it was cool because you're running around Fenway, but it's a good starter. It's a good
That
starter
does
race.
sound cool though. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's more. You know, I did that one. It could be because it was more. You know, it was more nostalgic or anything like, or cool to run
Yeah.
around Fenway Park and see everything. Um, but then they have a sprint, which is kind of like the beginner race, but it's like it's good, probably like 3 to 5, maybe 6 miles that they put you through, and then they have the intermediate one, which is the super, which is like, I don't know, 8 to 10, at
Mm.
10 at most. And my brother did that. My brother did that down in Mass, and he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "that was good. You know, it was pretty challenging, but it's whatever. It wasn't bad." And then they have the Beast, which is like that's like the gut check race. You know, that's like
Yeah.
your half marathon distance. And but then after that, they have what they call the Ultra, which is two beasts in a row. So you got
Jeez.
see, so we had so they do like the Ultra World Championships at on Killington Mountain during this whole weekend, and so you literally have people running this mountain for 12 to 14 hours to complete the ultra, and it's ridiculous. Like, those guys, like, you just move over for them if they're coming by you on the course. You're like, yeah, see you, good luck.
Oh my God.
Don't
Wow, dude,
don't
that's a
don't.
whole nother level.
Yeah, I mean, people need headlamps and everything to finish it, man. It's pretty wild. So
Have you do you follow or listen at all to David Goggins?
yes, yep,
Okay. Yeah. Machine. Just read his book.
yeah,
It was on audiobook actually, so you can count it as reading or not, I don't know, but I listened to his book Can't Hurt Me. Unreal. I don't know if you've heard of the book or read it or
I've heard about it. I haven't read it yet. I think Nick read it. Um, and he was because he follows him a little more than I do. Like, I'll follow like Jocko Willink and a couple
Yep.
guys like that, but I know my brother. I know he likes Goggins a lot, and I remember when he told me about him, I looked him up and I was like, oh, that guy's a psychopath. Like,
He is.
like that's just
He is.
you,
Like he
sir.
takes
You,
things
sir,
to a
are
whole nother level of like he's all about the mind games to a level where like he's he's worked himself into major like injury or like internal like shutdown, like where
right,
he just like went out and ran 100 miler with like obviously he's a very fit guy, but like he wasn't his body wasn't trained for the pounding of 100 miles, and he just went and did it anyway, and he finished it because of the mind games. Like, and then he was like, it was just bad. It was just crazy. But like in the book, it's interesting because he I feel like you would like it. He just talks about all these different things in his life that he he failed the first or second or even third time, but then he went back and he kept doing it. And just like the stories of mental toughness, like the principle that he's trying to say is that, like, the core concept of, like, you feel like you're about to quit or you're about to, like, you got you've done all you can. There's usually more in the tank, and I think that's totally true.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? So like, there are guys out there that are like when I'm tired and everything like that, I try to tell myself, psych myself up, or do whatever you do to like keep going, keep pushing the pace. It's only this far. After you tell yourself like the simple things, like all you're doing is this. After that, there's no more of it, right? So just
Right.
just get it done, and it'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. 100 miles is 100 miles, and
I don't think so.
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm not thinking that's yeah,
Never say never, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's a pretty confident not right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have like I'm like deathly afraid of snakes, and like it doesn't matter if it's like a little garden snake or whatever. Like I don't want anything to do with it. And I have a feeling like if you were like gun to my head like 100 miles, or like you have to like be put in a pile of snakes, I'd probably take the pile of snakes before I tried to run 100 miles. So
uh,
hats
dude,
off
that's
to him.
awesome. Dude, that's awesome. You're crushing those races. At one point you had mentioned, this is on another. I'm taking more digressions here, but like you had mentioned doing like a Ragnar or something in Vermont. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so the plan is to, and it's dumb too. I have a deal with one of my buddies to do the Spartan death race. Um, and the goal was to do it before we were 30. Well, I'm 30 this weekend, so that's probably not going to happen. But and he him and his family, him and his wife, they just had a baby, so it's probably not going to happen this year. But I promised him that we would both do it and compete in it. And yeah, it's getting down to the wire where that's going to happen. Like, yeah, like it'll happen probably, if not this year, definitely next year. It'll be happening. So stay tuned, I guess.
Love it.
It's going to be
Love
torture.
it. I should put in the caveat too, as we're getting into this thing here and pivoting towards some of the gumption stuff. I've heard your radio go off a couple times. For all the listeners, he is in uniform right now, right? You got everything. We're doing this remotely, but you got your radio on, and so this sucker might get paused. So,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we
yeah.
don't know what's going to happen.
No, yeah. I mean, shifts kind of coming towards an end with to an end within like a good 35 35 minutes. But
Okay.
yeah, in
Okay.
between, but that time, something could pop off. I don't know.
Yeah, something
We'll
could
see.
pop off. Who knows? And we'll have to just continue, and there'll just be a slight pause in the broadcast here, but we'll keep trudging along. So my friend, it is the Stories of Gumption podcast. So, what does gumption mean to you?
So it's funny because I actually had to look when I first started listening to this. I had to look it up because I was like, "Wow, that's a big word." But um, it's a
It
very
makes
it's
me think of Forrest Gump, which is not right, but
yeah,
like I just like that, so that's where it came from for me, and then it evolved into something much more serious, I guess.
yeah. But no, it's a great word, man. And I would have to say, like, gumption to me is the ability to push forward and to achieve a certain objective that you're looking to do. And sometimes the objective that you might be accomplishing might not be the most popular um, thing to do, but I think it's important to go with your heart and just do your best. And I think that's the beauty of that word, right? It has so many different meanings to different people. That's really in a nutshell what it means to me. Just push forward, achieve that objective that you're looking to achieve, even if it might not be a popular opinion to some, and always go with your heart and do your best when you're doing it.
Oh, I love it. That's an excellent definition, man. And I think the the part that I like the most is you added the piece about even when it's not the most popular thing to do. I feel like that's where, for me too, like where the gumption really shows up, because you're doing something that, you know, you may be ridiculed for, people disagree with you on, but you deep in your heart know it's right, and so you or it's meaningful, or you got to get to the end, to the finish line, so that's why you do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. Like people, me personally, you learn, in my opinion, you learn so much more, um, even from your failures than you do most successes, right? And you know, if you go, even like, I know for a fact that I have been on calls, or I've decided to do an op a certain way, or a warrant service a certain way. And it might have not been the most popular opinion, but at the time, you know, I, in my heart and in my guts, I felt that was the way to do it best, and to do it, the safest way that we could. Um, and yeah, you just have to go with it. And most of the time, man, especially, you know, you can say that you have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but most of the time in this game of life, you don't. And there's so many different variables. So I think that's it. That's why it's very important just to, go with your heart and go with your gut, and, you know, whatever, man. F the naysayers. I don't
Yeah.
want to. I'm trying not to swear. I have a sailor mouth, and I'm trying to actually keep
Oh,
it
you're
clean.
allowed to swear on this podcast, actually. I should have told you that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll say it then. Yeah, fuck the naysayers, and what they have to say. If you know what you're doing is right and just, who are they to tell you otherwise? So I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. I want to focus on your experience, and maybe even some stories as a sergeant in the Rutland PD. But I think a whole like part that's interesting to me is, especially as someone who will admit to the world, like law enforcement, military. It just I came from a long family of people in the military. Like I might be the first person in my family that didn't go into the military. Like my dad, he was in the Air Force. His dad was in the Air Force. His dad was in the Army. Like it's a long-standing thing, but it just wasn't right for me. But like like I said, I want to focus on your experience in law enforcement as a sergeant for Rutland PD, because that's impressive, and you must see a lot. But like you graduate high school, you decide to go into the Air National Guard. Like, is that something? Is that experience something that like made you want to go into law enforcement, or did you think maybe before you joined the military that you would still find yourself in law enforcement someday?
Nah, so to be completely like transparent and honest, I was looking forward to be like a PE teacher, man. Like that's like what I was dead set on doing after graduation.
You would have been
And
good at that too.
and um I went, tried my hand at college, but just did not perform well at all. Partied way too much my first semester. And if yeah, I mean, probably some of your listeners, I don't know if I partied with you before, but if I did, people people knew, like, I could party hard. I could party with the best of them, and definitely, um that's kind of where my head was at the time. So I remember distinctly, and I don't tell a lot of people this, but I'll be transparent on it. I don't care. You know, but I remember getting a letter from the college I was attending, and it was pretty much a letter saying, "Yeah, you're not, you're not coming back." you know,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
I think that was more of like the gut check for me. So it was like, kind of had to definitely take a hard look at, what was I going to do next? Was I just going to say, fuck it, and still be a little asshole, and do whatever I thought, I could do in this life, or was I going to try to get my shit together and do something else? So
Yeah. Yeah.
ended up deciding to enlist in the Air National Guard, and Did that, enjoyed it, and towards the end of it, where I was like, well, I need to focus now on getting a big boy job. Um, Definitely could kind of feel like the service and everything like that. So I thought, what better way than to be a police op, what better way to serve than, doing law enforcement or something like that and helping people. Cause I really do, truly enjoy, helping those in need. And that was kind of like a big thing for me. So that's kind of, in a nutshell. And then I just, ended up in Rutland by complete accident. So
That's an interesting story to me too, because I remember thinking when I first heard you became an officer at Rutland PD, I was like, boy, I wonder why Rutland or not or not Burlington or Plattsburgh or New York State Troopers or what? There must have been some reason. Was it just they had the right job at the right time? They were the ones hiring. Everybody else wasn't. The process was different,
no,
or
I mean, so like at that point, I think like pretty much like all departments around were like really kind of pushing for hiring. It really had to do like I thought about Burlington. I thought for sure I was going to end up at Burlington PD. Um,
no
and
kidding.
I was kind of dead set at applying there. And I remember one of the guys I was with, he was a cop for Burlington PD, one of the guys in the guard that I knew, and he was like, he's like, I don't know, Adam. I don't know if Burlington's quite the right fit for you. Um,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, like I don't know really what to say to that. He's like, well, it's a very political city, and he's like, I don't know if he's like, I don't. He's like, I don't know. He's like, you can do it if you want, and he's like, but I don't know if you would end up doing well there and liking it there. He's like,
Hmm.
he's like, I actually think you would really do well in Rutland. And I'm like, well, I don't even know where that is or what that is. I was like, so I guess like explain to me like why Rutland? And he's like, well, and at the time, I mean, if anybody's followed the news on like Rutland, Vermont, it was like, they used to call it the Bronx of Vermont pretty much. And and that's how he kind of sold me on it. He's like, they're always busy. They're kind of understaffed. And he's like, and you are going to be dealing with like the worst of the worst while you're there. And I was like, kind of like, well, I didn't do this to sit around, so I guess
Yeah.
sign me up and applied with Rutland PD, and probably within probably within 6 months I was hired,
Wow.
and that was the only department I've ever only applied to. So
Wow.
yeah,
And now you've been there. You said,
just over 8 years. Yeah,
wow, good for you, man.
thank you.
You got the promotion to sergeant.
I did. Yeah, yeah.
How long ago did that happen?
So that was about 2 years ago now. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm going on my third year as a sergeant here. So
So what would you say now that you're looking back, like that little exchange between your fellow veteran and you about Burlington PD versus Rutland PD or whatever, what would you say to someone who's thinking about it, maybe someone who's graduating high school right now uh, that
uh,
is interested in that?
I would say definitely. I would say don't. I would say if it's in your heart to serve your community or serve a community, and you know that there's more to it, to definitely definitely go for it, and you know don't give up uh, on that just because of some of the stuff you might hear in the media and everything like that. There's
Yeah.
just like any job, there's ups and downs, and yeah, just don't let the media or any false narratives discourage you from wanting to be able to serve your community, because this is absolutely a great way to do that.
Love it. I love it. Would you say it was helpful to have spent time in the military first?
Uh, yeah, for me it was. It's not for everybody, but for me it was because it just got me grounded. Um,
Mm.
and just it just got me that little bit of kick in the ass and life experience that I definitely needed at the time. So, but at the same time too, I mean, you learn like you know it's I was 21 years old, just shy of my 22nd birthday when I got hired here for Rutland. So I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
still had a lot of growing up to do, and you know, I would think like this place, like definitely I grew up fast, but like looking back, like, you know, don't be afraid to, if you're a new officer, like you're going to make mistakes and you might be seen as immature. It's just, it's you growing up in a very different way of life than, some people. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
some work experience and, military, but, I've worked with a lot of guys that are, very good, that come from college backgrounds too. So yeah,
Hmm.
all in the person and how they want to serve, I guess, if that makes
I
sense.
like it. Well, you must have some stories where you had to demonstrate some gumption as a either an officer or a sergeant in the Rutland PD. You got any good ones you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few that I'll talk about, few that I'd rather not talk about, but two,
And some you probably can't talk about, right?
yes,
So whatever, yeah.
some have been on the news and my face has been on the news, so it's all,
Oh
it's
God, your face has been on the news, man. I mean, I'm still up in Plattsburgh, so I'm not watching the Rutland news, but your face has been on the news.
yeah,
Yikes!
we've had for a couple stories that we've had, so but we won't get into those, but
It is what it
nothing
is.
bad.
Yeah.
It's all good. So, but a couple ones were like I definitely thought is one that really comes to mind is I was brand new at being a sergeant running night shift, and I got a call on the radio from another officer who said, hey, you probably should come down to where we're at, and I was like, hearing that, you're like yeah, that's not good. So
Oh no.
and I was like, man, I was like, either somebody's filing a complaint, somebody got into an accident with their cruiser, or something bad's going on. so
Yep.
so I was like, those are like the three things I'm like prepping myself up for. So um I get up to where he's at in the city, and he's standing there, and there's a woman there, and she had her hands bound. Yet he he had his hands bound with grocery bags. She did, and the female did when I rolled up, and I was like, wow. And
Wow.
so I'm like, well, this isn't good. So the officer um, starts telling me about you know different things, yeah, about what's going on. So how the call came in, this lady had was knocking on the door and telling her neighbors to call 911. So talked to her a little bit, and we find out that she was she was assaulted by her estranged boyfriend, who was still in the house, and that he had like pretty much like tied her up, like beat her, knocked her out a couple times with like a frying pan,
Oh my God.
said he was going to kill her, all that crazy stuff. And she was able to get out when she came to after being knocked out, and um, escaping to a neighbor's house. So she gets it. So she tells us, he's in there. He does have guns, and yeah, that's all I can tell you. So, and I'm like, all right. So here I am, brand new, and I'm like, man, I just got dealt uh, pretty much like a shit sandwich, and
Oh my God.
can't mess this up at all.
Wow.
Not just for myself, but for the integrity of
For obvious reasons.
yeah,
The pressure, you don't want to mess this up. You literally just got promoted. That's a lot of pressure
right.
for you personally. But obviously, there's like the general safety. Like, you don't want to mess this up because of the consequences that could
Yeah,
happen if you don't handle this guy right.
right. And the integrity of
Oh
the
my
case,
God.
and everything like that. So
I'm already stressed.
yeah. So literally go through like everything that we need to do as sergeants in regards to like calling my bosses, so our command on call, and briefing them on what we potentially have. So luckily they were able to come down here, and they came down, kind of relieved us, kind of relieved me from command, but at the same time kind of didn't. Like, I still had some like say on like how we were going to do it. And we end up entering this house. Decisions made. We called out to the guy for him to come to the door and come out. That wasn't working. So the decisions made that we're gonna enter. So get into the house, and we're looking around, and there's stuff thrown around. There's literally like as we're clearing the house, there's like a blood trail. It was just like you said earlier,
Oh my God.
like going through a horror movie, like literally like walking up these stairs trying to like clear these houses, and there's just like a blood trail going from like, and you can see almost like in the horror movies where it's like just going to a door and then it stops. But then you could see some ahead too, so you're not sure. So you have to check. We're trained to check everything, so we're clearing rooms and doing all that. Can't find the guy anywhere. So we're like, what the heck is going on? And we end up going down to check the basement, and there was like a crawl space in the basement, and he had wedged himself in this crawl space, and had cut his wrist to try to kill himself. But luckily, we got there in time where we were able to get him out safely for him and also for us. And he was able to, at the end of the day, to face the justice system. So that was good.
Man, that is that's an example of having to, I guess, muster some gumption that I've never heard since starting this podcast. I mean, that's just like, it's very dark too. But like, what goes through your head? Obviously, you're trained, right? So you got like this part of your mind that's obviously keeping you focused and
Yeah,
relatively calm, I'm assuming. But like, as someone who knows nothing about any of that, like, the human in you must be freaking out. Like, what's going? Like, this is crazy.
yeah. So I mean, you're like, wow, this is some crazy shit, on the inside. And but at the same time, I think my worries for my guys, first and foremost, that are there with me, and
Yeah,
making sure that they're safe, because that's like the ultimate priority, right? Is to make sure that we
yeah,
all go home to to all our loved ones, and to also to the public at this point, because if this guy dipped out of the house and we didn't know it, he's out on the streets. So I think the pressure came from making sure that we did a good check and a good search, and not giving up on that, and
mm-hmm.
just pressing forward, even when it did, like, even though it did kind of like freak, like, everybody was like, oh, holy shit, when we walked in there and saw what we saw, because I mean, that puckers you up a little bit, so
Yep.
um so yeah, I mean, I guess that's the best way to explain it.
That's wild. That's wild, man. Wow. I can't imagine every day is like that though. That's like 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 1,000,000, like that.
Yeah, and
And
so I mean, we deal with, we have a very good community, but I mean, we do deal with some pretty serious calls. I would say sometimes, weekly, more than
mm-hmm.
more than anything. You always have those certain ones that happen or stick with you, kind of like this one. But I mean, it's like the best way to describe like Rutland is like it's kind of it's a smaller city, but we experience a lot of big city crime
Mm.
for whatever. And but we're stuck between we have Springfield, Mass, and Hartford, Connecticut, in New York City, just to the south of us, and then we have Albany, that's kind of like directly to the west of us, pretty much
Yep.
with Glens Falls. So I mean, we literally get traffic from everywhere. Um, you know, so that was kind of like the biggest thing I think, like when I first started like realizing like, nah, this place is like it's the real deal, like
Yeah.
this isn't ma and pa policing, or something like that you would see. This was a place where you're dealing with like big city crime in just a smaller community or state like Vermont is. So,
Yep. Yep.
but
Wow. I've driven through Rutland a few times recently in the past couple of years on my way to visit some clients. I actually have clients for insurance brokerage business down in, you got to go quite a ways south of Rutland, but it's Brattleboro and Bennington.
yeah, two. I mean,
Yeah.
two other places that it's kind of the same thing. I mean, we're a little bigger and a little busier, but I mean, any of the cities really. I mean, Barrie, Burlington, Rutland, South Burlington, all Bennington,
Hmm.
Brattleboro, like they all experience the same things. And I guess it just depends on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe you'd mentioned earlier you have two stories you wanted to share. So that was the first. Is the next one
Yeah,
just as dark, or what else? What happened in this one?
no, I think it's a little lighter. I didn't mean for it to be dark. I mean, yeah, but
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's real life,
yeah,
and someone who like me gets to kind of live in a bubble. I don't always realize like the things that happen. I mean, it's not, the stuff happens in Plattsburgh too, right here where I live. So
right,
it's just reality.
yeah. So I mean, the other one was it's kind of like it's silly and it's not, because like I guess like if you knew who like the offender was, like it's kind of goofy to you because we had dealt with this person a few times. So
Do you have repeat clients?
yes,
Not to
yes,
make light of it,
yeah,
because
no, we do, and
that's not.
it's
But
every we
it's
yeah, we deal with yes.
jeez, I can only
um
imagine.
but yeah, so we're on night shift again. I'm a little more experienced this time around with being a sergeant and being in tune with the guys that I work with and that are under me. And we're out patrolling a couple sections in a couple of our neighborhoods that are kind of like they just need some extra love at night. And we got a call for armed robbery at this Chinese food place that's kind of like in between the two neighborhoods. So we all go, zooming down to it, and the initial officer says, they had a suspect. This is where they ran. Um, so I responded up to with another officer to where where they ran off to, and we had witnesses tell us, oh, he went down in here, which is kind of like almost like it's like an old industrial building, um,
Yeah.
kind of like right flat in this like old neighborhood. So
Hmm.
we're by the industrial building, and there's kind of like a break in the chain link fence, and the officer's looking with his flashlight, sees some money. So we follow the trail of money going down, and there's literally like this hole under, this hole cut out in the that goes underneath the building. And I'm like, well, what the heck? So it's pretty much like a crawl space underneath this industrial building.
The
That
guy's
takes,
hanging out under the building.
yeah. So
What?
yeah, that's what it looked like. and of course, it couldn't get easy. And there's a machete sheath with no machete in it on the
Oh
outside,
my
on
God.
the outside of this hole where the money's leading into. So, at that point, we have to assume that the guy's armed, and we
Wow.
have to take it very, very carefully at this point. So can't be brazen. So I tell
That's
pretty much,
wild.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I don't know what I'm scared. I don't know what I'm scared. What I should be more scared of, but to me, just a guy potentially
hold on
underneath a
one second.
building with,
I
yeah.
got to pause 1 second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
All good, man. All good. What I was gonna say though is it seems I don't know what I should be more scared of. A guy. I mean, obviously, a firearm seems a lot more dangerous, but a guy hiding under a building with a potential machete. That's wild.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
just crazy.
yeah. So there's that, and yeah, either for me, I'm like, gonna take it easy on either. So, yeah, so I tell everybody at the time that what we want is I want pretty much this entire building surrounded and the perimeter of this building locked down really tight. Because just my going with my gut, I knew that this guy was still underneath there. I don't think he had gotten out on us anywhere.
Wow.
So, and that was a tough call, right? Because at this point we could be, you know, we're pretty much putting all our eggs in one basket, saying that he's going to be here, and all our resources are going to this exact place. So, but I was confident that he was that it was going to be a good outcome with it. At least I was hoping.
Yeah. Right.
Because
Jeez.
I really would have had some egg on my face if it didn't work out well.
Wow.
Because I had some people were like, "Oh, are you sure? Sarge, are you sure? You don't want me to go here or that?" I'm like, "No, just hold where you are." And yeah, so made that decision. Of course, working at night, it started getting like pitch black out, and
Man.
where we were, the street lights really wasn't giving us adequate light. So I thought, what better way to tie up more resources than call down the city fire department for floodlights, and a thermal camera. So
Smart.
so I call them down, and we start really kind of meticulously setting everything up and looking with this thermal camera, which at first we really couldn't see too well, but then we pointed at this one area where I was. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Um. So yeah, I'll finish this thought quick, and then I just gotta pause again. I'm sorry. Um.
Sure.
So yeah, so they get down there, and I'm looking with the thermal imaging, and I pretty sure I'm seeing what I think is this guy hiding behind like a pillar or something like that underneath there. So called out a couple times to him, wasn't moving, and then the thoughts going through your head, well, did he do something to himself because he knew he was cornered and everything like that? So is this going to be like a recovery now? And
Man.
so I'm like, at that point, I'm like, well, I know if I was burrowed underneath here, I wouldn't like somebody gassing me out. So I decide to have a guy bring me down one of our pretty much one of our pepper spray cans that's meant for to break up like crowd to
Yeah.
disperse a
Yep.
crowd. So it's more of a fog, and I was just like, yep, whatever, and just hose that entire hole and try to fan it in for him to start coming out. Because because I'm thinking to myself, as morbid as it is, I'm thinking to myself, well, if he's not dead, if he didn't kill himself underneath here, nobody likes that, and he's gonna call out. He's not gonna stay in there. So
Wow.
he ends up, luckily he ends up, making noise and saying that he's done. He wants to come out. So let it air out a little bit, and we send two smaller officers in to go extract him.
Wow.
And they're able to get in there, get the mask that he was wearing, which was a President Obama mask when he committed the robbery.
Okay.
We got the money, the rest of the money that in cash that was underneath there, and also the machete that he had during the robbery. So it was a win, and we got him, and nobody got hurt. So
it seems like the most stressful part of your job, man, is like mitigating potential injury once you're on scene. Like once you're there, it's like, okay, we got to do everything we can to prevent any further injury to the suspect, our team, our fellow officers, civilians, like all this. But like it's like real life, like you can't you can't take your time thinking about what's going to happen. I mean, that seems like a pretty stressful situation.
right, and that's kind of like the biggest thing, like especially as you go up in rank and responsibility. Like, if it was just me, I wouldn't be as worried about it and as worried about how I'm going to be. But now I got to worry about all these guys because I care about them. These are my brothers and my sisters. I care about them, and I care that they go back home to their families, and they're not only entrusting me with their safety, but they're also going to do what I think is right and what needs to be done, no questions asked. And that's I think that's kind of the biggest thing for me, and why I have such a respect for everybody that does this kind of thing, and all respect for all my guys too, that literally have shown that they'll go in no questions asked with me into some pretty crazy situations. So
That's wild.
Yeah, but if I can, I just got to pause for 2 seconds, so I'll be right back.
Yep.
All right, thanks, man. All right, I'm back, and that should be it.
Nice, man.
That should be.
Well, that's hey, you're the man. You're the man in charge, right?
So,
I with that actually, I was just about to say we are right at that perfect point in the podcast where I think I'd like to pivot to our rapid fire questions.
yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Well, you're a podcast listener, I think you said, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Some of these may be coming without as much surprise or rapid fire nature to them, but I'm excited to hear what you have to say anyway, my friend. You ready?
Ready to go. Yeah.
All right. Number 1. What's your favorite movie and why?
Man, see, so you did this to me, and I have 2, if that's okay.
Okay. All
right. So number 1 and first and foremost is the town. And I just love it. I personally, I love the city of Boston, and this is like the perfect kind of like epic crime movie tied into the city. And it just, I mean, dude, it plays on so many emotions. I mean, that movie will get you. It's an emotional movie, and I just thought it was, I like the premise and plot and the acting. It's just a good all around movie, and that it takes place in Boston is even better. And I'm sure there's some people that would argue with me that like I should like The Departed if I like Boston, but whatever. I like the town.
I like it.
I like the bank robberies, But eh,
What's the? You said there was another one.
yeah, so the other one, like with more like the gumption, I guess, like geared towards the podcast, is 13 Hours, the secret soldiers of Benghazi.
What's that
So
about? I've never seen that.
so it's about a group of, it's based on a book, and a true story of a group of contractors overseas who literally protected the embassy of Benghazi when it came under attack. And I mean, those guys, they were told no, you can't do it, because they were on a secret CIA base. So if they went, while this other attack is happening at the, where the ambassador to Benghazi is,
Right.
they're being told no, you can't go, because it would give up, where this CIA base where they weren't supposed to, technically supposed to be, um, is there, and so,
Jeez.
but they make the decision to go help, and they go help extract, most of the people from there, and then they also defend their compound, which comes under attack later on. And they were getting like little to no support because of all the, I guess, the red tape with the government red tape, I guess. I don't know.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's just an amazing story, and you know, it's pretty crazy to watch, some of those guys. Actually, I mean, you're a big Office fan, right? If I
Huge.
So John Krasinski is in this
Yeah.
movie. He's like one of the main guys. So, and
Oh man.
it was weird.
Okay.
It's weird seeing him in a serious role, but he does a good job. He pulls it off.
Yeah, I've heard he's in. Well, I haven't seen it yet, but his show, Jack Ryan, is apparently taken off too. He's playing Jack Ryan or whatever. So
Yeah,
that's
I heard that. I haven't watched it yet, but
I haven't watched it either. But yeah, look at that. All right, The Office. I dig that. But but no, that movie sounds really interesting. I want to watch this now. What's it called again?
it's called 13 Hours, and it's
13 hours. Okay.
the Secret Soldiers of Benghazi.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
Question number 2. What's a piece of advice that you would give to your 18-year-old self if you could?
So I would tell myself not to sweat the small things and just go with my gut when it comes to a fork in the road or making a decision, and just to see how it plays out, because usually it works out for the best. And if it doesn't, you can learn from it. So
I like it. Question number 3. If you could put up a billboard anywhere in the world, it doesn't really matter so much where, but what would you put on it and why?
it would just say, it'd be simple. It'd be wherever I'm going to do maybe a race or going to work or anything like that, it'd just be simple: embrace the suck. And that's all I would say.
Yes. Embrace the suck.
Yep.
That reminds me of David Goggins, but I bet you that's a Jocko thing too, right?
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
follow Jocko a little bit, but more so Goggins. Yeah, that's like a Navy SEAL thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's more or less one of those things for those guys. They
Yeah, it's gotten me through. It's gotten me through on some of my long runs. I'll tell you, you just embrace the suck, man. It is what it is.
yeah. I mean, you're gonna get done. You're gonna get done at some point. It's gonna end at some point. Just embrace it while it's happening.
Yep,
But
and grow through it.
yeah, I mean, and I think yeah, it's funny to say, but like I think it just holds a greater meaning, and I think a lot of people these days, not downplaying any accomplishments that you know people are making, but I think I don't I don't know what you call them, because we're technically millennials too, right?
Yeah,
Um, so I guess like the people that, from what I see, the young adults coming up behind us, that of the real big tech generation, they need to, I think they need to get with it a little more and just see that, sucky things can happen, and not to think that they're owed everything, because they're not. So I guess that's why I would have it up.
Embrace the suck, brother.
That's it.
Number 4. Who is what's a historical figure that if you could of any time, generation, place, what's a historical figure that, or who's an historical figure that you would love to just spend a day with? Who is it and why?
So mine would be actually kind of like his story hadn't really came out mainstream until the last couple of years, but it's Technical Sergeant John A. Chapman of the United States Air Force, and he was a combat controller who posthumously was awarded the Medal of Honor
Oh wow.
back on August 22nd in 2018 for his actions at the Battle of Takur probably messed that up, but up over in Afghanistan. And he pretty much single-handedly went down and took the fight to an enemy that was already had wounded a good number of troops. And even though being wounded, he still brought the fight to this bunker. And then he ends up getting hit again and knocked out, and wakes up, comes to from it, and knows he's mortally wounded, and still brings the fight to this bunker, and ends up, just destroying everyone in that bunker, and
Wow.
ends up saving, countless lives because of his sacrifice with it. So I would definitely,
Jeez.
he's the first airman to receive the Medal of Honor since Vietnam. So I think that's huge. And I guess I would like to talk to him, just because I'd want to learn and listen to what sacrifice and honor meant to him, in the will to win and complete the mission.
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate sacrifice that he gave, protecting his own guys. And I would just like to know. I wish I could just sit down, talk to him, and just see if he had any mindset at all on, exactly what was going on and what was going through his head. So
Yeah, that would be interesting, man. Wow. That's a great one. That's a really good one. Question number 5. Here it is. My favorite question. You've probably heard it on the podcast before, but if we could put together a 3-person board of directors to guide and mentor you through the rest of your life, you get to choose 3. They can be alive, deceased, famous, or not. But who would the 3 people be on your personal board of directors, and why would you pick them?
So I would pick number 1. I would pick my dad, Dave, and I would need him on the board, just to keep. He's always you know terrific father, terrific dad, everything like that. Terrific husband to my mom, and I would just need him. I would just need him to honestly keep me humble and probably keep me grounded.
Yeah.
Like he is very proud of everything me and my brothers have done. I know that for a fact from, people I've met before, or, but to be in my brother's face, he will just lay it out with us and tell us, what needs to be done. And that, almost like that tough love, like, just to do it, to mess with us, because he knows he can get like more work out of us. But like, it's almost like, yeah, it's almost like he's almost like
Yes.
looking at us and be like, yeah, you're nothing special.
Yep.
Plenty of people do this all the time. He's a good person to keep your ego in check. So I would, that's,
That's important.
yeah, very important. Uh, Second would be Jocko Willink, who I'm just a big fan of his philosophies on leadership. I've read Extreme Ownership. I've read The Dichotomy of Leadership. by him, and just agree wholeheartedly and try to mirror, I guess, my leadership style with some of his. I just resonate with him a lot with on the way to take ownership for things and to lead to lead people. And I think having a person like that to ground you and tell you, look at it this way, I think that's very important. He could do that.
Oh yeah, for
And,
sure.
and last but not least, Teddy Roosevelt, man. Old Teddy Roosevelt, because I mean,
Good old Teddy.
one, who doesn't like him, right? Like, I've never had a person say like I don't like him.
Yeah, right.
So, but also, I mean, you talk about a man that just, like, I love it. Carry a big stick and just be ready to use it, but speak softly to him too.
Yeah.
And it took a little while for me to kind of learn that. Like, I used to just like to carry a big stick to carry a big stick.
Yep.
But as time goes on, you learn that it's definitely easier talking to people and kind of be nice, be nice, be nice until you don't have to. And I think that that's also important in leadership, and in gumption in general, right? You want to be nice and be nice and focused for everything, but when it's time to get down and dirty, I mean, you got to make sure you get down and dirty and are able to come up come out on top with everything that happens. So those would
I
be the
love it.
three.
I love it, man. Dude, that was awesome. Man, I think I say this on for a lot of the guests, but I feel like I could just sit here and keep talking to you, man, for another couple hours. But we this has been really good.
Yeah,
This
but
has been great.
then we'd begin like Jocko and do like a 3 hour, 4 hour podcast, and it's a long time. But it
It
did
is a
feel like
long
this,
time.
so it did feel like this.
Those podcast those long form podcasts are something special though when you get a good one,
Oh,
like it's like you could just digest all this content and they go in so much deeper because they have all the time in the world to really express what they're thinking. That's the art of conversation right there.
yeah, actually, before we ended everything, like a good, I finished a Jocko one today where he was talking to Johnny Kim, who's a Navy SEAL, went to Harvard medical
Yeah.
school, was a doctor, and then becomes an astronaut with NASA. And so I don't know if you've listened to that one yet or listened to it,
No.
but great one if you have like 4 hours to go.
Oh
So
my god.
yeah,
Well, I do have family out in New Hampshire, Maine area, so that's a solid 4.5 hour drive one way. So maybe I'll put it on the queue next time I go visit them.
yeah, man, it's a good one. Definitely pretty motivating. So
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot, but as we wrap this sucker up, is there any final words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share with the listeners of the Stories of Gumption podcast?
I would just have to say, definitely just kind of like what we already said, just make sure that whatever you do and whatever you're doing, whether it's business or just, regular work, if you own a business, if you're working for a business, if you're looking for a promotion, anything like that, just you gotta lead with your heart. Um, you gotta lead with your heart, because if you're not doing that, you're not doing it for yourself, and it's just a lot better feeling when you lead with your heart, and everything else kind of is just gets put on the back burner and goes by the wayside. You just have, I feel, in my opinion, you have a lot better results. And yeah, that's really it.
Amen, brother. I agree with that 100%. Man, well, until next time, you and I will have to do this again, and maybe, who knows, maybe we'll get together and run a Ragnar or do something, a race together or something in
Yeah,
Vermont.
dude, we just got to get together. I got to get up to Plattsburgh, and we got to get together just for like a beer at like one of the breweries or something. I love Valcourt Brewing, by the way. I'll give a shout out to them. Like,
There you go.
Valcor Brewing, you guys know what you're doing. And I'm coming from a place where there's a brewery literally every other place that I go to, and have kind of become a beer snob with Vermont beer. But yeah, Valcor Brewing, food and the beers are definitely good, and it's definitely a place I try to visit every time when I'm up in Plattsburgh. So
Nice. I love it. Yeah. Good spot. Very cool venue. They got a lot of good stuff going on. Hopefully, we didn't really talk about it. I mean, it's like a hot button thing right now, but I imagine the whole I'm going back into the podcast now as we're trying to wrap it up, but like the whole COVID-19 thing must be wild for you in law enforcement, and we can't get a beer at Valcor until this thing is over.
yeah, so hopefully it's over soon. Yeah, it's definitely been a transition for all of us. Like you know, my unit right now, we're normally kind of like a unconventional plainclothes unit, and we've had to make some changes right now where we are literally helping our regular road guys do patrol work, and we have no problem doing that and helping out, and that's part of it until this is all said and done. Then we'll be back doing to what we normally do.
Wow.
So,
well, hey man, thanks for giving me some of your time. I know you're very busy and you had to take a couple stops there throughout, but it's been
yeah,
really good reconnecting with you, man. And we'll definitely reconnect outside of the podcast world very soon.
yeah, absolutely, man. And thank you for putting up with the pauses, and thank you for having me on. It's definitely an honor. You're doing a great job with this, and I love it. So, thank you.
Thanks, man. Everybody, thanks for listening. It's been another episode of the Stories of Gumption podcast. I'll see you next time.